What's up, everybody? On today's show, another SEC coach fired as Mississippi State parts ways with Zach Arnett, not even a full season into his tenure. More aftermath out of the Texas A&M firing of Jimbo Fisher, and who are some names to watch for in both coaching searches. Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Today's episode brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That is why LinkedIn Jobs is helping you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Go post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, we got to jump right into it here as we have yet another firing in the SEC. Just a day after we told you guys Jimbo Fisher was fired out over at Texas A&M, Mississippi State decided to drop the hammer on Zach Arnett out at Mississippi State. Not even a full season into his first year as head coach. Bulldog athletic director Zach Selman talking with the media on Monday, saying, look, as part of our thorough and continued evaluation, we've determined that a change in leadership is necessary to move our football program forward and position it to the highest level of success. Have the utmost respect for Zach Arnett, incredibly appreciative of the effort he put forth in leading our football program, but the progress and on-field results have not been of the standard required for Mississippi State to achieve the level of success we need and expect. Bulldogs 4-6 this season overall, just 1-6 in SEC play, and on Saturday losing to Texas A&M 51-10. Arnett did acknowledge, or Selman acknowledged that Arnett took on an unprecedented and challenging situation in December, replacing Mike Leach, who died after heart complications. Selman saying, Zach provided the football program much-needed leadership and stability during this tragic time. No question, he has made a positive impact on the lives of our student athletes during this time. Arnett was named the 35th head coach in Bulldog history just last December. Led the Bulldogs to that bowl win in the ReliaQuest Bowl over Illinois. But unfortunately, he is gone that quickly. Mississippi State, they will make a move forward to start a search, see who they will hire. In the meantime, they are announcing that Greg Knox will serve as their interim head coach. Knox came back to the Bulldogs this season as a senior offensive analyst, was previously there from 2009 to 2017. He was the interim head coach for the Tax Slayer Bowl back in 2017. And Zach Selman saying, look, as part of the evaluation, I determined a change was needed and looking forward to seeing what Greg Knox can do. You're finishing this season strong for us. But Zach Arnett, just 5 total wins as head coach there at Mississippi State. And like they said, I mean, impossible situation he was brought in for, or, taken over for the passing of Mike Leach. And a lot of the players learned about the change on social media. 24/7 Sports reporting that the players didn't expect anything to happen until, after the Egg Bowl at least. But Greg Knox taking over as the interim. A source said that Mississippi State's players found out on Twitter, like a lot of other folks. Jimbo Fisher and Zach Arnett both getting let go in the last 2 days here. Now, Chris Doering of the SEC Network praised Zach Arnett for his ability to take over Mississippi State in tough circumstances after the passing of Leach. He said, look, it's a tough business. Everybody was celebrating Zach Arnett being the perfect fit and the perfect time, dealing with the unique challenge of having a sitting head coach pass away the way that Mike Leach did in December. He said, credit again to Zach Arnett for guiding them through that tough time. It's been a tough season for Mississippi State, especially given a lot of what they had coming back. last year's team, especially on the defense. And, man, it's just a tough situation. Zach Solomon saying the program needs a jolt of energy. He mentioned the needs in recruiting, said he trusts Greg Knox to do a good job in the interim until someone is hired. But the search for the next head coach begins at Mississippi State. Solomon saying you always go into a search open-minded. You look for winning qualities. You know when you got winning DNA and want someone who can build a culture, someone that can recruit and develop talent. Now, before we get into who Mississippi State could be looking at in terms of candidates, I just want to reiterate how disappointing this season was for Mississippi State. I mean, when you talk about all the talent they brought back, we talked about it at SEC Media Days. We had Will Rogers on the show back at the Manning Passing Academy and at SEC Media Days. He talked about how excited he was to learn this new offense and, get ready to run something that wasn't the air raid. And, bringing over Kevin Barbay and all the new wrinkles they were going to have, it just never worked. Now, Will ended up getting hurt, and he's missed the last couple of weeks. But even when he was healthy, that offense just was not clicking. You had one of the better running backs in the SEC in Jaquavius Marks, but Woody Marks not able to get much going this year. I thought the O-line was decent. Tulu Griffin in there, Jaden Wally, Creed Whittemore. I mean, so many different pieces on the offense. And then the defense up front, Nathan Pickering, Jaden Crumity, Bookie Watson, Jet Johnson at linebacker. I mean, those two guys are still tackling machines. Marcus Banks. I mean, you have so many pieces on that defense, offense and defense. Why was it so bad, Zach Arnett? But now we turn to some of the names that are getting mentioned around Mississippi State and who they could be looking at. Dan Mullen is the name we got to start with. Spent a long time at Mississippi State. Clear he loved his time there. And, back last summer, Dan Mullen said on a podcast, I love Starkville. If you had to associate me with coaching somewhere, you say, hey, what is your school that you coached at? I would say Mississippi State. That would be the school I would claim, not Florida. But some other names to keep an eye on. This is from The Athletic. They threw out there Lance Leipold over at Kansas. The Athletic saying that Mississippi State would have interest in him. Obviously, he's done a great job there at Kansas. Over at Tulane, Willie Fritz, proven winner, won at Sam Houston State, now winning at Tulane, doing a great job there. John Summerall over at Troy, probably the hottest name of the group of five. He's 41 years old, has been awesome over at Troy. He's 20-4 there, and just really doing a good job. Another candidate to look at, Jamie Chadwell over at Liberty. Been running a creative offense there, has them rolling at 10-0. Rhett Lashley over at SMU. Mustangs are 8-2 in his second season there. Another one with ties to the program, I think this is a little bit of a stretch, but Patriots assistant coach Joe Judge, obviously he was failed NFL head coach, but 41 years old and was a former Mississippi State player. But Jeff Levy is another one that's come up. He's running the offense over at Oklahoma. Charles Huff, his third season coaching at Marshall, was coaching at Alabama previously. Mike Elko, whose name has popped up in the A&M search, obviously, from being the defense coordinator there. His name is on the list of possible candidates for Mississippi State. Tom Herman is an interesting one. He's back on the sidelines this year over at FAU. They're kind of not having a great year there, but obviously good track record from what he did at the University of Houston and then University of Texas. So going to be interesting there to see who Mississippi State leans or is able to pull, because you got to think like a lot of the big names. I don't know if Starkville's the biggest sell that you could get, but I think all those names in that grouping are doable. But to me, Dan Mullen would be the most fun, right? To bring him back to the SEC. He's been doing the broadcast thing on ESPN. And if he could run some of those offenses he was running, back in the day with Dak Prescott and company, I mean, it would bring a lot more fun back to Starkville. Will Starkville have him back? That's another question. Would Dan be interested in coming back? Obviously, the money would have to be right. But that's the one if I had to pick of all those names. Now, look, Willie Fritz, Summerall, Jamie Chadwell, I think any of those guys would do they'd be good hires on the surface, but can they get things going there at Mississippi State? Because this road is about to get a lot tougher with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the conference. But Last note on Mississippi State, Greg Knox, like we said, taking over as the interim coach. He was talking to the media yesterday. He said, look, it's very similar in the sense that I'm going to be me. I can't be anyone else. I have to be the person I am. Energy, effort, attitude, demanding in attention to details. I'm not Dan Mullen. I can't be Zach Arnett. I'm going to be me. And so that's a statement I try to get across to the kids today. Same guy they've been seeing every day. They're going to continue to see him. So they will take on Southern Miss this week before they play in the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss. And that one's going to be a tough one because Lane Kiffin and the Rebels are a team on a mission, looking to finish strong. They want to go to a New Year's Six bowl. So Greg Knox, hoping to finish this thing outright. Mississippi State could still reach bowl eligibility, but they would need a couple of wins there. I think they can beat Southern Miss, but that Egg Bowl will be very, very difficult. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll touch on the latest over at Texas A&M in their coaching search that's just starting up. That coming your way in just a sec. This episode presented to you by our friends over at Jace Medical. Look, we spent a lot of time talking together, getting fired up on wins and losses, who starts and sits. Today, we want to talk about a little something more personal, whether you're on extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage. You are covered thanks to our partners at Jace Medical. Life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications can be ordered in a 1-year supply. Even ED generics are there for you. Go online over at jacemedical.com. That's JASE. Receive your 12-month supply of your daily medication. Remember to use our promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer said this about Jace. They said, I'm very thankful for the service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. Highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would love to get that peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily med, go to jacemedical.com to see if it is offered for you. And remember to use our promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. That's going to get you $20 off your purchase. Again, go check them out today at Jace Medical, JASE medical.com. Going along here, Locked On SEC. Of course, we're talking all things SEC here. If you're looking for more of the big picture college football every Friday, reminder, we're doing our Locked On college football preview show, getting you set for the weekend that is set to happen. You can find that on any of our Locked On college channels, including right here on Locked On SEC. All right, we got plenty to dive back into as we jump back into it. We're talking about Zach Arnett being fired. I keep saying Will Arnett, right? The comedian. Zach Arnett over at Mississippi State being fired. Of course, Jimbo Fisher let go on Sunday, and still more in the aftermath of Jimbo Fisher being let go by Texas A&M. Johnny Manziel never played for Jimbo at A&M, for Kevin Sumlin, but on Monday, Johnny Manziel took to social media to thank Jimbo for his 6-year stretch at A&M. He insisted Fisher allowed him to immerse himself in the Aggie football program from day one and thanked him for his time. He said, been sitting on this for a couple days, but I have to say it, my experiences with Jimbo Fisher, he allowed me to immerse myself in the Aggie football program. I thank him for allowing me to spend time in the building with the guys, treating me with respect. Wish nothing but the best in your future endeavors. He also followed the post up, offering his help in, quote, any capacity to help get Texas A&M to where they need to be. Send Johnny Manziel out to join the hiring committee over there in College Station. Fisher fired Sunday. Aggies AD Ross Bjork insisted the program was stuck in neutral and not where it needs to be. Aggies, obviously, roster full of talent, just need to get over that hump. Now, as A&M will start searching for their new head coach, Paul Feinbaum, talking about it on SEC Network, and then also with Greg McElroy and Cole Kubelik on Monday. He said, I think there is a problem in chasing the hot names right now, the Dan Lannings, the Kalen DeBoers, guys like that, because I don't think A&M could just sit around and wait for the college football playoff to be over, right? You got recruiting, you got all this other stuff. He said, look, they need to have a pretty good idea who the coach is in either 2 weeks from today, assuming that coach is in a conference championship game, or 3 weeks from today when we all know the college football playoff field, because otherwise they're going to get wiped out here in the transfer portal and certainly take some major hits in recruiting, which they really can't afford. I think Feinbaum makes a great point there. A&M has the nation's 10th ranked 2024 recruiting class right now, according to 24/7 Sports. Feinbaum said, I know the argument. Do you lose a year to get the right coach? Usually recruiting wins out. Feinbaum went on to say, I think Dan Lanning is probably the best choice for Texas A&M, but he has a tremendous buyout at Oregon. I know Andy Staples put out there, I think it's around $20 million just to get him out of his deal at Oregon, and then you got to pay him whatever else on top of that to get him. Feinbaum saying on Get Up, so you're going to hear every name in the book, including Deion Sanders, but to me, Dan Lanning makes the most sense. He went on to say, it's not fair in college football when a university makes a commitment to a coach, but a coach doesn't make a commitment to that school. I want to be here, believe it or not, whatever you want, there's no secret. Well, that's actually Dan Lanning's quote, is what he said about being there. But nonetheless, it's tough. I mean, you commit to the school, but if somebody else wants to come along and pay you more, you got to at least check it out, right? So we'll see Dan Lanning again saying there's nowhere else he wants to be. Signed that new deal with Oregon not too long ago. He said it's where he wants to be right now. So Dan Lanning, we'll see if that name gets vetted there at Texas A&M. Kalen DeBoer over at Washington. He, of course, his name has been thrown out there. DeBoer got a 2-year contract extension this time last year. He said on Monday, my focus is 100% on us playing ball right now. Our bosses are trying to do everything they can to help me and the staff continue on this journey we are on. One other name over at Texas A&M, Jeff Traylor. He is the UTSA head coach. A lot of ties to a lot of, head coaches in the Texas area. Got a lot of recruiting ties there. He said, it's always sad to see any coach let go of, speaking of Jimbo Fisher. People like to talk about it. It's almost sickening. They don't understand the ramifications that go through the entire building. It's always sad, especially a school that's as important to our state as that school is. He went on to say, his name getting thrown out there. He said it's natural. It means when you've been winning a lot of football games, that speculation is going to always come up when you've had great success and great players like I've had. But he said, I told them it's a good thing. It means we're winning a lot of ball games here. As long as they keep winning ball games, there's always going to be speculation. So, again, Jeff Traylor, a lot of these coaches not necessarily denying, none of them really coming out and saying, I would have no interest in Texas A&M. So, again, we will see. But, there are a lot of folks who will be interested in that job because it's going to pay a lot. They just paid the other guy $76 million to go away. The guy who will step in for the shoes temporarily for Jimbo Fisher, Elijah Robinson, he was talking on Monday. Co-defensive coordinator, defensive line coach for the Aggies. He will take over for the final 2 games, plus their bowl game. Robinson saying Monday, first thing I'm going to say is this. Players are the most important people in our program. I think the biggest thing is understanding what they're going through right now and what they're thinking and addressing that first. The biggest thing is this is a brotherhood, and we're going to play for each other. We're going to do everything for each other. But he said the guys handled it very well. I think our leadership is going to have this thing going the right direction. A&M will face Abilene Christian this week before closing out the season against LSU. Over to Alabama, Nick Saban giving his thoughts on 2 departed SEC West foes. Nick Saban saying on Monday, I don't ever like to see anybody let go, whatever you want to call it in this business. I know how hard everybody works. I know how difficult it is to sort of build a program to get players to compete at a high level. So I have a lot of respect for people who really work hard to try to change the lives of the guys that they're coaching, make them better people, et cetera, et cetera. Saban went on to say, we are in a business that you get evaluated based on outcomes and your performance. And I hate to see anybody have to go through this. I've been fired before. It's no fun for your family, but both those guys have great reputations in terms of what they've been able to accomplish over their careers. I'm sure they'll have many more opportunities. Yeah, what Saban doesn't acknowledge there is a lot of these guys get fired because of him, because he beats them, because Bama's been crushing people the last decade plus. So, kind of funny. And I like Nick throwing there. I've been fired before. Yeah, it's been a long time, Nick. Been a long, long time. Over 20 plus years ago. But nonetheless, there is the one of the GOATs talking about Jimbo and Zach Arnett being like, all right, speaking of Alabama, Georgia and Alabama are going to face off in the SEC title game after the regular season. Of course, they were both locked into the SEC title game with wins over the weekend. And the Bulldogs opening as a 4-point favorite, according to several sports books out there. One sports book has the line all the way up to Georgia -4.5. Last team to beat Georgia was Alabama in the 2021 SEC championship game. Since then, the Dogs have won back-to-back national titles, an SEC title over LSU last year. If Georgia can finish undefeated, that SEC title game will be for 30 straight wins for the Bulldogs. Georgia's one of just 7 remaining undefeated teams this season. We got Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Liberty, and James Madison. Of course, Alabama lost to Texas earlier this year. But the Tide and Bulldogs set the face-off for the SEC title, 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS on December 2nd. I'd put that line a little bit higher, honestly. If that were me, like I think Alabama's rolling right now. Jalen Milroe is doing a great job, but I still just think Georgia's on another level. I would have Georgia around a touchdown favorite, but we'll see. I'm sure the line will still be around 3 or 4 when we get down to it. All right, couple more notes here. Kirby Smart talking to the media yesterday, and he was talking about his star tight end, Brock Bowers, returning from ankle surgery with a good outing, catching 3 passes for 34 yards and a touchdown. Kirby asked about Bowers' health. He said, look, he didn't play every snap of every game anyway, so I don't know. I'll have to look and see what his snaps have been in other games, what it was on Saturday. I'm sure he had more snaps in other games, but he's in good shape. He's conditioned. I don't know if he's 100%, but he's healthy and safe enough to play, and we're going to allow him to play as long as he wants to. And he wanted to go out there on Saturday, compete and play. I don't think it's a matter of how many snaps he could take. I think he will be fine. So we will see there. But going to be a lot of fun to see what Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs can do. Big test for them going on the road to Tennessee this weekend, heading up to Knoxville. So going to be a fun one there. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we got some more tidbits going on around the conference that we will touch on. That is coming your way here in just a second. More here on Locked On SEC in just a sec. I want to remind you guys about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. Look, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you got to go check out our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. They're going to help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's very simple. You go to LinkedIn Jobs, you add your job posting, then you simply add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile. That spreads the word that you are hiring, lets people know that they can apply. Simple tools on there like screening questions, make it easy for you to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you want to interview and hire. It is why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering qualified hires versus leading competitors. Again, the holiday season is upon us, whether you're hiring for seasonal or you're looking for people just to start the new year at your small business. LinkedIn Jobs, they're going to help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Go post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Go post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Along here, Locked On SEC. A few more tidbits to get into, so let's waste no time. Let's dive back into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff. What a catch! Around the conference.
And we start over at Auburn as the Tigers. They've been hot the last few weeks, winning against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. Tigers are going bowling, recruiting very well. They have the winnable game this week against New Mexico State. And then it is the Iron Bowl. It's fair to say Hugh Freeze's first season has been pretty darn strong so far. They could end the season with 8 wins, something that maybe seemed impossible a couple weeks ago when they were on that losing streak. But Hugh Freeze saying on Monday, look, the job and the chore is to continue doing what we're doing. We stub our toe. It would be easy to say the momentum has shifted the other way, but momentum is an everyday thing. So said when his team isn't winning like it was earlier this year, it was a learning process. So Auburn, hopefully thinking they have learned from a lot of those mistakes they made earlier in the year. Meanwhile, over at Florida, Billy Napier preaching patience. Florida is sitting at 5-5 on the season with 2 top 15 matchups to finish out the regular season. They're going to travel to Missouri this weekend to play the red-hot Mizzou Tigers before they finish out against Florida State. Gators have played a tough schedule, but by the end of the season, they will have played 6 ranked teams. Billy Napier saying Monday the Gators are still in the middle of their process, and he said you don't just flip a coin and decide to be the head coach of the Florida Gators. There is a process here. Now, on Monday, Napier was asked about the job Eli Drinkwitz has done at Mizzou. Tigers finished last year 6-7. Drinkwitz had never won more than 6 games in Columbia until this season. Now he's got a chance at 10 wins or more. Napier saying Eli's done a great job there in year 4. They've gotten incrementally better. Gators and Tigers take on each other 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Saturday night from Como. Meanwhile, over at Kentucky, Mark Stoops and Shane Beamer, they have had a little bit of tit and tats, whatever you want to call it, a little beef. Stoops was asked on Monday about there being maybe an edge to their relationship. Mark Stoops downplayed it, saying, I have no idea where you would get that information from. I mean, I have no clue where that would come from. I don't feel that way about Shane. Maybe he does. I don't know. You have to ask him, but I don't feel that way at all. It's another game, and we need it for our university, for our players. It's zero to do with me and Shane. Coach last season appeared to have a rivalry after Beamer wore sunglasses in a viral SEC Media Day video, and Stoops responded later saying, it's easy to change the climate. You just change a uniform, talk a little game, dance around, put on some stupid sunglasses. You could change a climate, but to change a culture is at its core. Stoops also went on to was asked about some of the SEC East rivals and having some pressure and all this. Stoops said, look, I don't care. I spend zero time thinking about all that. I mean, zero. Said, Eli Drinkwitz and I are friends. I talked to him last year. He was enduring a lot more pressure than I'm enduring right now. He was getting a lot of it, and he's having a heck of a year now. And I'm picking his brain. Hey, man, what are you doing? What's going on there? Because we don't play them next year. He's done a heck of a job. Stoops said, to coach in the SEC, you have to be able to take criticism. He said, all of us are built that way. I can't speak for everybody, but if you're successful in this league, you hang around for a while, you're going to have thick skin. You're going to take it. That's why I never get too excited. Other SEC news over at Tennessee, Josh Heupel revealing that Dante Thornton will be out for the remainder of the season, suffering a lower leg injury in the game against Mizzou this past week. He said, we'll see where he is at as we get into postseason play. Thornton has 13 catches, 224 yards, and a touchdown this season. The Vols had already lost Brew McCoy earlier this year against South Carolina. Heupel said, young guys, there were some real positive things that they did over the course of the game. Chaz Nimrod, Caleb Webb, all in all, I like the majority of what they did. So some more young guys in that receiving core are going to have to step up. Heupel in Tennessee had some frustrating moments against Missouri last week. Heupel pointing out inability to get off the field. Part of that was the quarterback extending, making plays with his feet, running, scrambling, getting outside the pocket. But for us, you got to do a good job applying a pressure. Can't let them sit back there all day. And Tennessee, of course, going to face Georgia this week. Looking for better production on third downs. Need to get off the field. Now, fun storyline for this weekend. Dolly Parton will be on hand in Knoxville to support the Vols. She took to social media to announce she'll be at Neyland Stadium for their game against Georgia. She tweeted, well, hello, it's Dolly, and I am so excited to join 101,000 of my friends in the best place for college football, Neyland Stadium. I will see you there. The 77-year-old Dolly Parton is set to release her 49th solo album, Rockstar. In September, she announced a special Vols edition of the double album featuring her in orange and white with a team logo and the checkerboard pattern. So if you're a Vol fan, you need to go grab that. And over at LSU, Brian Kelly announcing one of his players is going to miss the rest of the season. Running back John Emery has a torn ACL, will miss the remainder of this season. A tough go there. He's been with LSU since 2019, that national championship team. And unfortunately, another season cut short for John Emery. Now, the SEC, they announced their players of the week on Monday, and LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels, he was among the conference's offensive players of the week. Had a historic performance on Saturday, becoming the first player in FBS history to pass for 350 yards and rush for 200 yards in the same game. Auburn's Jalen McLeod was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week after his 9 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, and 3 sacks against Arkansas. Auburn's Keontae Scott was the Special Teams Player of the Week after he took 174 yards to the house against Arkansas. LSU's Charles Turner was the conference's O-Lineman of the Week as LSU put up 700 yards on Florida. Mizzou's Darius Robertson was the D-Lineman of the Week. He had a sack, 2 tackles, and a quarterback hurry against Jalen Milroe. And Georgia's C.J. Allen, he was the SEC's Freshman of the Week, 9 tackles and a sack in his first start for the Bulldogs. One last note here, the SEC coming out with their kickoff times and TV assignments for Week 13. This is next week. CBS will have the Iron Bowl in that 3:30 Eastern slot from the Plains. The Egg Bowl will be playing on Thanksgiving night on ESPN at 6:30 Central. And then on Black Friday, Mizzou will play at Arkansas on CBS starting at 4 Eastern. 2 games will be played on the SEC Network triple header on November 25th. That'll be Vandy at Tennessee in the afternoon and Clemson at South Carolina in primetime. Lastly, Florida will meet Florida State at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Georgia will play Georgia Tech at night, 7:30 on ABC. And the kickoff time for Kentucky versus Louisville will be announced after this weekend. There you have it. You're all caught up on the latest news going on around the conference. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out. We'll be back tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC. Come on back and see us.